Writing to me is so much more than just writing. Writing to me is meditation, it is prayer, it is contemplation, it is leisure, it is virtue, it is delving in to the silence that you are avoiding, for the answers you are seeking are so often in that silence. And there's something so profound about seeing your thoughts outside of your head and managing them in a slower, managing them at a slower rate. When you think, it's just fast, it's as fast as you're talking, oftentimes even faster. And same with, well, meditation. To me, I say meditation, but obviously the goal of meditation, I guess, is to not think. But I do think there is something deeply profound in meditation with just because part of meditation too is the goal of attention and refocusing on things, refocusing on bringing your attention to your breath, or mindfulness meditation does this. And that is what writing does. You think about something and a note, back on track. You want to go to the bathroom, nope, I can wait. Or you want to get something to eat, nope, not yet, I'm writing. I'm in the middle of something. And you can help improve your attention and your focus in that manner. But as I was saying, there's just something so deep about seeing your thoughts outside of your head and working with them slowly. And it almost gives you an unbiased position of the thoughts that are within you. And it can make contemplation so much more manageable. And you can dig deeper into topics because instead of slowly grazing over something, you need to take the time to write it down. Or instead of quickly grazing over something, you need to take the time to write it down. And in taking that time, another thought can pop up that is in the realm instead of something completely out of the realm that you just end up taking by the horns and being brought down a whole new direction every couple of minutes. You can really hammer home something in writing. And I mean, I think it's clear the writing I'm speaking of is more of a journaling type practice. But I don't think we should journal in what's going on in the external world, but we should journal about what's going on in the internal world. And often this can also lead into the external world for sure. I'm not saying it shouldn't or it won't. Um, but I think it should start on an internal basis. And if it leads to the external world, then that's okay. Or an internal problem can sometimes be more easily emphasized in an external sense. How this internal problem is manifesting in the material external world can be a powerful way of viewing and tackling the problem and getting perspective with it. But there's just something so peaceful, so profound, so simple about writing. And it is definitely a practice I think we all need to cultivate. It helps, Socrates says the unexamined life is not worth living. And Epictetus preaches how, you know, every night before your bed hits the pillow, you should go over your day, you should reflect, you should contemplate. And what better way to do this than journal? And as I said, I don't think it should be I did this at this time and talked to this person at that time and, had some trouble here doing this. And it can be that, but I think it should be morally the internal battles you were having throughout the day. And there doesn't even need to be context on the external situation, but the internal, what you were wrestling with, where you did good, where you were virtuous, where you did bad, where you gave in to vices, what was in your control and what was outside of your control, how you can do better tomorrow, what you really want out of life. You can dig into these things so much better with a pen and a paper than just ruminating in your head, going round and round in circles. Oftentimes thinking is hard. And if you do not think thinking is hard, then you do not think deeply enough. And a lot of times when we try to think deeply, you can start looping and you can start ruminating. And you don't want to do this. And journaling can help prevent this because you won't start looping. You won't say, I find myself a lot of times when I'm thinking, you kind of get lost in my train of thought, and I'll say the same thing like 5, 6 times over. And then, you have to remind yourself, like, oh, I'm looping right now. Okay, I need to get out of this loop. I know I need to progress this thought. And that just doesn't happen when you write. That doesn't happen in a journaling practice. And it also, there's just so much fruit internally for it. And all my videos started on pen and paper. Before they became a video, they were in my journal. And my journal looks like my videos. That is how, if you want an idea of how my journals look like, it looks like my videos. So the things I talk about in my videos, the things I emphasize in my videos, it's elaborating on those things and then getting comfortable enough with the point, being at a place where I think it's profound and it's going to help me immensely and believe it'll help others too. Then it becomes a video. And this, it's hard sometimes when you just want tangible results to spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day journaling and just writing, reflecting, growing, contemplating, thinking. It can be a hard thing to do. And lately I haven't been doing it as much because I felt as if it was a waste of time. I felt as if I needed to be more productive in this time in my life. And I realized, because I wanted to make more videos, I wanted to read more, I wanted to learn more, I wanted to do more. And I realized that I can't just cut out journaling and expect to make more videos because I make videos out of journaling. So if anything, if I want to make more videos, I need to journal more because that gets me in the headspace of contemplation. That gets my brain going. That gets my mind thinking. That gets me able to dig deeper on things. And I've read a lot of books, and a lot of that information I have retained, and a lot of it just needs to be bubbled up. A lot of the times I'll remember something, I'll say something that I read that I haven't thought about or haven't remembered in years. It's been so long since I've thought about it, but as I stumble upon a topic, I remember it, I can elaborate, and boom, I have a lesson that I should have never forgot because of how fruitful it was. I have a video that I can make easily to help myself elaborate on the point and to help spread the message to people who want to listen. And that's the other thing too. I think journaling is an immense help, but so is talking. And I don't really have many people I can talk to about these type of topics because it doesn't interest a lot of people who I know. So this is kind of my way of teaching, of talking, of learning vocally in the real world, outside of my brain, outside of my paper, voicing it into space and time is making a video for me. And I guess I just want to urge you, if you're going to start journaling, you should also start making videos. And you don't have to post them like I post them. You can just make them for yourself. But, I mean, might as well post them if you make them. If they help one person, it was worth it. And there's just there's something so helpful about elaborating on a topic in a video format. Just talking like you're talking to somebody. Because when I make these videos, I don't feel as if I'm just sitting in front of a camera and no one's listening because I've never posted a video that got 0 views. So someone's always listening. Maybe I'm at a point in the video where no one's ever watched, but you don't think like that. So I don't talk as if I'm talking to myself. I talk as if you're sitting here in front of me looking at me with a notebook writing down the things I'm saying potentially, or just listening intently, and helps me be held accountable to dig deep into a topic, not be superficial, not cheat you out of knowledge and wisdom, and not cheat myself. out of knowledge and wisdom. And I started journaling like 2 years ago, and it has been such a fruitful practice for me. And like I said, I mean, sometimes I've been asked, how I'm able to make these videos and how diverse topics and, you know, contemplate so many things so often and this, that, and the other. And it's really journaling. It's really not being afraid to dig into anything my mind brings up, not being afraid to dig into my faults, not being afraid to confront my demons and the things that I need to work on. And there's always something to learn. There's always a place for growth. And journaling can just help you elaborate on that. And also long walks. Long walks help me a lot as well. But there's just something powerful. I can only thinking is really hard, and it's so much easier with a pen and paper. I've gone on 10-hour hikes, 12-hour hikes, 12-hour, 20-mile, it's like 7,000 feet elevation gain hikes in a day, and not listened to any music or podcast or anything, and just been with my thoughts and just thought the whole time. And it's hard. And there's hours where, you just get lost in thought, and you're just lost in it. But that doesn't happen with a journal. Your brain is actively moving. It might be I mean, this is strictly no studies, no research, no nothing. But to me, I mean, I found nothing more fruitful for activating my brain, activating my focus, for digging deep into things than writing. I can't think of a better pursuit for the brain than writing. And what better to write about than the matters of utmost importance? Because I think that's really where the fruit is. I don't read fiction because I don't think it's fruitful. Um, there is good lessons in fiction, obviously. Symbolic language is very powerful, and stories stick more than not a story. But to me, I just don't find it a matter of utmost importance. So I do not write fiction. I do not write about dragons and knights, but I do write about the dragons within me and the knight that I am trying to become. And that's helped me become a better man, I believe. And I'll show you all my journals because it's a fruitful practice. So I can show you how much I've done throughout the years. So in 2 years, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I got one half done right there. So 8.5. 8.5 journals. And these are all full, front to back. And this is my first journal, so I can see when I started. 2023, December 25th. I started on Christmas. I got this journal for Christmas. I remember that. So yeah, not even 2 years. Yeah, not even 2 years yet. That's crazy. Wait, no. No, yeah, not even 2 years. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, very fruitful practice. And I stress and urge you, instead of watching an hour of TV, write for an hour. Dig deep into something. Strive for something. Strive to become better. That is what you have to do if you want to become better. If you have 15 minutes of spare time, don't go on social media. I've been bad about going on social media lately, but for 2 years, it's been off my phone for the most part. It has not been something I've consumed. It's not been anything I've posted on other than here and maybe other platforms, but these videos to try to spread the message. I saw a video by Jonathan B. on John Paul Sartre, no, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and he was talking about how Rousseau was like, plays, because plays were big, probably 1500s when Rousseau was Rousseauing, and he said, plays are horrible. Plays are not good. A society who has time for these things, who devotes their time to these things, is not a good society. But then Rousseau, I think, wrote plays, and he was in the theater, and he was doing these things. So you think, oh, contradiction. But there isn't, because he claims also in his writings, but if you are in a society that has fallen so far that they pursue these things so much, then it's better to immerse yourself into it and produce some fruit, produce some good content amidst the junk. And I tried to do that on Instagram and TikTok, and I just can't because it's too junk. I just if I had like a manager who would post my videos on those platforms, I'd be okay with it. But I'm just not disciplined enough to post and ghost. I got to check the likes, check the comments, and this, that, and the other, and you know, answer. And once it gets in my brain and I'm thinking about it, and I hate that. I hate thinking about if someone potentially answered me, or someone potentially liked it, or somebody answered the comment yet, or how is it doing? I don't like that, and I've never had that relationship with YouTube, so I don't have a problem with YouTube. The long form content is good. Um, but yeah, if I had, I mean, it's beside the point, but if I had somebody who would do it for me, I'd be okay, because I do believe Rousseau is right, but I'm just not strong enough to go. It's like going into like like a strip club, like preaching the gospel. It's like, yeah, probably should be done, but I mean, you got to be a certain type of person to do that. You got to be strong. Um, and yeah, I'm just not strong enough. I'm not strong enough to post on those places, because I develop a bad relationship with the app again, because I did have a bad relationship with them, and I don't want to do that again, because it takes me away from making the videos, which is what I want to do, which is what I believe is important. It takes me away from reading and learning, which is helps me live better, which I believe is important, which helps me in turn make more videos to in turn hopefully help you live better and develop practices that have been fruitful to me. In writing, I was just thinking, I did make a journaling video back in the day, but it's been a while, and I think it was time again, to just emphasize of how powerful writing is, and how if it is not part of your daily pursuit, it should be. It's been part of mine for a little under 2 years now, and it's the best thing I ever did. It truly is. I mean, it's my therapist. It is. I mean, I've written in 8.5 journals. I mean, that's a lot, and it's not about my day. It's about what's going on in there. And I started reading this. Why this journal was open. I started reading this one today, and went back to a time and place that, if I had some pictures, I could remember, what was going on. If I said what I was doing, I'd be like, oh yeah, yeah. But I feel like I have something so much more powerful, because I know where my head was at. I know where my head was at on, what day was this? I think it was November 14th, 2024. That's powerful, man. That's powerful. To know where your head is at, and to see where you've grown, to see the things you've done that you told yourself to do, to see where you still haven't done the things you told yourself to do, to see where you've grown, to see where you're still lacking. As fruitful as it is to write it, it's so fruitful to look back on it. And it can either give you a kick in the butt and say, hey, I used to be more passionate about this. I need to, kick that back into gear. Or say, nice, I came a long way. I remember I was telling myself to do that thing, and I actually did it, and now I'm here in the middle of it, and we did it, and I was so stressed about not potentially doing it, and I did it. And that can give you a good feeling, because you can so often forget where you were at in your head in those time and places. And who cares what your facial expression was on November 14th, 2024. Who cares what you were doing on November 14th, 2024? But I care what I was thinking about on November 14th, 2024, because no one else knows. No one else could possibly know other than me, and no one else could possibly articulate it other than me. And it's been articulated, and it's now in, and now there's record of it that I can turn back to at any time and look into. And right now it was only around a little under 2 years ago, or no, a year ago, a little under a year ago. But I mean, that's it's the main point is the fruitful in the present moment. But the side benefit is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, God willing, I'm still alive. I get to look back and see where my brain was at when I was 22 years old, 21 years old. To me, that's powerful. And to me, that's cool. And that's like a side benefit of being able to profoundly enjoy, or to be able to dig deeply, reflect deeply, grow immensely. The side effect is that you'll always have your thoughts, which is, the hardest thing to have. Like I said, you can take a picture of yourself every day, but you'll have no idea what was going on in your head. But I mean, journaling is really a snapshot of your brain and what you were working through, what you were digging into, the things that you cared about, the things that mattered to you. I think that's pretty cool.